Porro wins it for Tottenham with an absolute perler, a worldie, a stunner, the greatest thing that he has done, the best score, the best goal he's had since he picked up João Felix's other half. It was absolutely tip-top. It truly, truly was. In a game that really lacked overall quality, it needed something special, and he delivered it, and he gave it to Big Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham tonight. They go into the fourth round of the FA Cup, and I'm here to gather your thoughts, your feelings, your full fan highlights for tonight. What stood out to you? What was good? What was bad? What needs to improve? Obviously, I want to get your opinions on that goal. For me, it's one of the best FA Cup goals I've seen in a long time. It was absolute sheer perfection. It really, really was. And I think it was an important game for Spurs to win, really. Their first match without Sarr. Basuma's obviously gone. Maddison is still out. You've got Son that's away now. And a lot of those players could potentially be gone until the middle of February if their nations progress and do well. And there was a lot of criticism back in September when Spurs went out of the League Cup early. They made a fair amount of rotation. They were poor. Fulham knocked them out. And you see Fulham now in a semi-final. That really could have been this Tottenham team because they have been exhilarating this year. But there was an overall lack of quality at times from Tottenham tonight. And there was a feeling when you're watching that game that it could have gone. It could have been one of those matches where in the 95th minute, the 85th minute, the 90th minute, Burnley come out of nowhere, get their head on a cross, score a goal, knock Spurs out, and it's a Spurs United in North London again. That would, of course, increase the pressure on Ange Postecoglou for the rest of this campaign and going into next year. And it just wasn't quite working. Kulusevski with lots of space, final ball not coming off. I thought that Brennan Johnson had overall really poor night. Barring the use of his speed and acceleration, his touch was off, his shooting was poor, his crossing was non-existent. And then you have Richarlison that had two decent chances in the first half. Both shots were absolutely woeful and did very little in the second half. He did a lot of running, he did a lot of hard work, but very rarely touched the ball. And it just had one of those, it just looked like one of those games where Burnley might step up. Burnley might nick the winner. But it needed that moment of brilliance. And Spurs are not a team this season that have relied solely on moments of brilliance. There's been so much great play, the system, the movement. And it's like they're playing chess in a lot of games, Tottenham, where that final ball that comes off, you can tell it's from a well-worked move that they have worked tirelessly on during their training sessions. But tonight, they looked a little slow, a little sluggish, a bit lethargic. Maybe the pressure of a cup game, needing to win, got to them a little bit. But that's when you need a star to step up. And Porro hasn't scored this season. But there's a real quality player in him. For a man who struggled really when he first came to the Premier League, I think defensively, he looks brilliant. He looks custom-made to play in an Ange Postecoglou team with the inverted nature. He's technically gifted on the ball. He's a very good defender. And he has a goal or two in him. He really does have a goal or two in him. And I would expect that he gets a little older and matures more and gets this Tottenham team continues to develop, then you're going to see even more quality from this young man. But look, his goal, as I've already said, was absolutely out of this world. It really, really was. And I thought to myself, as soon as that went in, look, I don't really want Tottenham to win as a Man United fan. I'm not going to lie, but that's the kind of goal that deserves to win a game. It really, really does. Now that will live long into the memory, especially scoring it in the most famous and the biggest cup competition in world football, club domestic cup competition in world football. So congratulations to him. And look, Spurs can now enjoy the whole weekend of FA Cup football. They can sit down Monday evening when the draw happens, see who they get in the fourth round. We know one of the big boys in Arsenal and Liverpool are guaranteed to go out. That opens the tournament up slightly as well. And maybe there's going to be a few shocks over Saturday, Sunday, and Monday as well. Let's have a little look at some of your comments that are coming through. They were fouling Burnley all over the park, is what this Liverpool fan says. Spurs fan here says the ref was awful all match, Burnley kicking us all over, and he let it go. Listen, I thought it was just like a proper FA Cup game. And I like more of that. I like more of it. I think they let the right things go. I didn't think there was any nasty fouls. I didn't think there was anything disgusting. It was just a physical game of football. And I thoroughly enjoyed what I saw. Hamid here says Burnley are the best worst team I've ever seen. Look, Burnley in the Premier League, they're all fur coat and no knickers. They move the ball well. They're tidy football players, but they lack quality. They have really low quality, undercooked football players. Technically gifted. A lot of their football players pass the eye test, but passing the eye test does not make you a good football player. The final ball is awful. The first touch of their players when they get into difficult areas of the pitch is poor. That means their mentality is off. They don't have the belief within inside them. And I think for about 80% of that squad, the Premier League is a level too high. Some might develop into it, but the Premier League is a level too high. And I know it was the FA Cup tonight, but they're playing against a Premier League team. And we've seen this type of performance week in, week out from the majority of the season. And look, they're going to get relegated, Burnley. I don't necessarily know whether Vincent Kompany will be sacked because I think they've got a project going on there. It doesn't look like he's lost the dressing room in any way, shape, or form, but they're trying to play a brand of football. You know, they're essentially, the way I would use an analogy is they're writing checks that their bank balance can't cash. They're trying to play a style of football that their overarching quality of football player simply cannot deliver against, in my opinion. So I'm not saying they shouldn't continue down this road, Burnley, but it's a long and winding road back to the Championship as far as I'm concerned, because the players are not the best. Not they defended well tonight and they were resolute at times. It took a wonder goal to beat them down, break them down in the end. But they're a very, very, very average bunch of players who passed the eye test, which is why you can't just go by eye tests. You can't just go by the eye test. You really can't. I worry when we go to United because those players cannot score at all. We are going to get punished if we cannot finish our dinner. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't worry about Man United hurting you. Other teams maybe, but Man United at the moment couldn't score in a brothel. If we fell into a barrel full of boobies, we would come out sucking on our thumbs. So I wouldn't be worried about Man United. But look, I think it was just a little bit of an off night, if I'm being honest with you, from an outsider looking in. I think you controlled the game relatively well. I would guess, I haven't looked at any of the stats, I'm going to guess you had about 65% of the ball. Just checking now, 64.9%. You had 16 shots. It was just that final ball tonight, or the shot in itself. And if Richarlison had his shooting boots on early, could have been a couple of goals up. So I think there's an element of that I get. But I wouldn't worry about Manchester United, if I'm being honest with you. We score less than you. I think you've scored in all of your last 34 games in all competitions. I think we've scored like 19 goals all year in domestic football. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried if I was you, Jerome. I really, really wouldn't. We will make Man United look top draw, guaranteed. Listen, I know that you guys have maybe a little bit of PTSD coming to Old Trafford, but I've got zero confidence at all. Jamie here says, stop it with that weak mentality. It's not a weak mentality to speak the truth. Imagine it doesn't make you strong. You haven't got a strong mentality because you sit there as a United fan when you're in a crisis saying, yeah, we're going to smash her. That's not a strong mentality. That's chatting fart, bruv. That's chatting dog breath. Do you know what I'm saying? That doesn't make you strong. It makes you stupid, in my personal opinion. But there we go. Cal here says, great result and all that. Good to see the youth get more than 5 minutes. They deserve it, but not having at least the one player in for this game and making it look harder annoys me to no end. Look, I can understand being frustrated with elements of the performance tonight. Yeah. Someone just put the weirdest insult in I've ever seen in my life, and I'm going to read it out to you in a minute. It doesn't even make sense. But yes, look, I understand why you'd be frustrated. But so there we go. I can't stand this effing trolling our own club, Terry. What the F? I'm not trolling Man United. I'm being serious. I don't think Spurs fans should be shaking in their boots about coming to Old Trafford in just over a week. I don't. I don't see what's controversial about that comment. It's not trolling. And this is the weird one. Ryan here says dog breath is better than Terry's children's breath. Firstly, do you go around, how close do you get into other people's children, Ryan? It's a bit noncy. Secondly, you like dog breath. You're a bit of a strange guy, brother. You're a strange guy. But again, you won't offend me because words mean almost nothing, especially this. It's a bit of a strange thing to say. I think the police need to check your hard drive, bruv. Strange dude. Strange dude. But yeah, listen, a few of you sound disgusting. Listen, just words. Remember, someone can wish nasty things against you. It's not going to happen because that person said it. Let people say nonsense. Leave them alone. Just laugh at them. That is the best remedy for trolls. Laughing at them. Simple and as straightforward as that. I'm going to bring Will out now to have his say with us on the show and give his opinions, etc. Welcome back to the terrace, Will. Fantastic goal from Porro to give you the victory and put you into the fourth round tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and Porro, for me, I think he's been one of the best right backs in the league this season. The performance overall, though, for me was very kind of slow and stale. You could tell that without having Son in the side, we lack a little bit of teeth in the final third. But I mean, overall, I thought we dominated the game as far as like having possession. You know, there was a few times where they had some half chances in the box that their guys just completely blundered. But that's just kind of been I'm telling you right now, I think Vicario has some kind of Jedi mind tricks that he plays in the box, because that's been the case. That every time we play somebody, what I always hear is a better team finishes those, Will. But no one really has yet this season, so I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, other than Brighton, really. Other than Brighton, no one's really done it. So, what do you think made the performance, as you in your words, stale tonight?
I think it's just we lack. So there are certain players that I think that bring. I think it's our leadership crew: Madison, Romero, Son. Those guys bring an intensity to the side that kind of sparks everybody else. And when they didn't have them there, it just seemed very flat. It was just a flat performance. And then you have the normal cases of our Deadwood not performing as well, as we all know that they can't. So, but yeah, that's about it.
I hear you on that. Dan, do you feel it was a bit stale tonight, or how did you view it from a Spurs perspective?
I thought we dominated, as Will said, but we, like as he said, we were missing those like star players in the final third, like Son, that could like take one of those chances. We had a couple of those chances where somebody would be through on goal and they just wouldn't have that. We lacked that little edge in the final third. You got what I'm trying to say? So like one of them players like Son, like playing in there, like we miss Son, we've been missing Madison with the creativity. I think a lot of our players were not on it today. Brandon Johnson, that first half was great on the left. I think cutting inside, he was causing problems. But around the second half, when we moved him and when he was still playing on the left, I think he was bad. I think Brandon Johnson, that second half, he was poor. But at the end of the day, 3 points. I mean, not 3 points, sorry. We win the game and we're on to the next round. That's really what's important in the FA Cup, getting on to the next round. And that's exactly what we've done tonight.
Yeah, of course. It absolutely is. And what was your take on the goal that won the game? Because, you know, there have been some brilliant goals scored in the FA Cup over the years, and that must rank right up there with one of the best from a Spurs point of view.
Yeah, Terry, I saw him strike that ball, and I thought it was a cross, and I'm like, "What was that cross?" I was like, "What was that cross?" And then I see it smashes to the top corner. I'm like, "Nah." Genuinely, I don't know.
Why did you think that was a cross?
Because there were so many players in the box that it looked like he was getting ready to whip that into the box for a cross, and I saw it was going over. And I'm like, "Oh, the cross has gone over everybody's head," and then it goes into the top corner. I'm like, "Wait a minute." What? And genuinely, my first reaction was like, a player from that position, I'm thinking he's going to cross it. That's my first reaction. You're going to cross that ball from that position. No. Not Pedro Porro. Whips it into the top corner. What a strike. And me being young, I haven't seen most of the goals that you've been talking about top quality in the FA Cup. I've seen a few clips, but I haven't seen like most of them. But for me, that's one of the best goals I've ever seen in a cup competition.
Listen, it was excellent. I wanted to ask you, Will and Dan, winning a trophy is obviously the ultimate aim of football. How important was it for you to stay in this competition, especially after going out of the League Cup so early?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of person that whatever competition we're in, we want to win. I don't necessarily rate domestic cups as success. I focus more on leagues and Champions Leagues as far as when I can say we've made it, because you got teams all the time that win domestic cups that aren't really competitors, right? Year in and year out. I want Tottenham to be a competitor. But yeah, no, every competition that I want to win. Like a lot of our fan base mocked us when we were in the Conference League, and I was like, no, we got to win that competition. Like any competition we're in, we should try to win. So
I agree. How about yourself, Dan? I mean, I totally get what Will was saying in terms of you don't just want to win the FA, but you don't want to be a cup team only. You want to be a team that's winning domestic trophies and competing for the league. But we've seen Arsenal fans today, for instance, talk about they're not worried about going out of the FA Cup. It isn't a big focus for them. Surely last year, you remember you telling that joke on the show that you don't even know what knives and forks are because you don't have any silverware. Is it important to stay in this and try and win it from your point of view? Play your strongest team possible in every game.
100%. And I'll say that for any cup competition. Carabao Cup, you remember me when I came on, we lost. I was fuming. Going out at any competition and it's a cup and it's a chance to win a trophy, I'm not having that. Even if it's a preseason cup, we have to take it. And us as Tottenham fans, we can't look at a cup and say, no, forget about that, move it to the side. Any club shouldn't be doing that. And the FA Cup is a very historic cup. It holds a lot of value. And if we go on to make a little cup run and we get onto the final stage, I back us to win it. A lot of Premier League teams playing against each other early on. But we have Arsenal playing against Liverpool. I think it was Man United playing against Wigan. Hey, who knows? Who knows with Man United right now? But a lot of Premier League teams are playing against each other early. So a lot of them are going to get each other knocked out. So if we go on a little run here, I back ourselves. And it's a cup that you can't turn aside. It would be my first ever cup supporting Tottenham watching, and I would just love that.
Yeah, how about yourself, Alan? I know you're someone that wants a sort of success, but what was your take on the performance tonight, and how glad are you with Porro's Wonderstrike?
Look, Porro's goal was sensational. It's obviously what Estupin did to us for Brighton, literally just pretty much very similar goal. Sensational goal. Look, the result matters because we got through to the next round 1-0, but the performance wasn't great. Look, it was the best possible team we could have put out because of obviously all the people who got out. You got like 6 first teamers out. So it's, the best team we could have fielded, but it goes to show how bad the backup is, how much a squad is needed to be built, because there's a lot of players who obviously have chances time and time again who aren't good enough. By the way, I took a picture on my phone of Sessegnon on the pitch. I get to tell my grandkids I actually saw Sessegnon play for Spurs. That's how bad he is and just can't keep fit. But I've got that for keepsake for later on in life. But look, a lot of players were under par. It was a poor performance, but we got the job done. Let's just hope that there isn't too much going on in regards to, if these players are out, let's just say we're missing Son, we're missing Maddison still, and Romero, Basuma and Sarr, because Van der Ven is due back. He should be back for the United game. If we're putting out, look, however bad United are, we're going to cause ourselves problems going against this United team. If we've got a full string team, the way Man United are, I fully expect us to slap you. Like you're that bad. But watching this roster, literally, that's me being honest. But seeing the amount of problems we've got because the squad, and this is why I'm getting so annoyed that we're not going out and getting business done for areas that we need to get done. How on earth can you continue to see this bad performances from these players that aren't good enough for this club, and we continue to say, okay, we need a player in urgently, but no, we'll take our time because we're haggling over 5 million. I'm fed up with the people at the top, but again, I still back Ange, but it's just there's still a lot of negatives, and obviously there's positives too. Porro's goal, getting through to the next round, but I'm fed up with some of these players still earning. Like Hoiberg came on and gave the ball, passed the ball out for a throw in, to Burnley, kicked the ball out for a corner, and literally got the ball taken off him. If it weren't for the Davies, we could have it could have been 1-1. It was poor for a lot of reasons for a lot of players. But again, wonder goal from Porro, we get the win and through to the fourth round. Let's see how far we can go because we desperately need to win a trophy.
Do you agree with what Alan's saying there, Will?
Yeah, I mean the game over. What do you mean? Like what aspect of what Alan said do you want? Because he said several things there. Do you think I disagree? Did I disagree?
Well, his frustrations, really, I suppose I was angling to in terms of, still frustrated that new players haven't come in yet, worried about the strength in depth, and tonight's performance highlights how desperate you are essentially to go out and buy. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, this performance should show you exactly why we need to go into the transfer window. And I've already said that for me, no matter who we sign this window, it's already a 5 out of 10 transfer window, simply for the fact that the business hasn't been done already. Like that's how badly we need it. And the players that we're going after aren't big money players. So the fact that we're haggling and daggling over 3 or 4 million euro really bothers me, especially when Postecoglou himself said he wanted the guys in the first week. So that first week ends today. So we haven't signed anyone. So for me, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that we need them in ASAP for them to be able to participate in the upcoming games where we're so short with people being gone for AFCON and out on injury that it's a necessity that we get those guys in right now. So, I mean, look, there's no doubt on my mind that Brian Hill, Brendan Johnson, Kulusevski, Oliver Skip, how many other players? Emerson Royale, Ben Davies. None of these players are good enough to get it if we want to be the team that Ange Postecoglou says he wants to make, because he has said with his own mouth that he's not here just to win for winning's sake or just to win a one-off cup. He wants to set up a culture of winning and make Tottenham a team that competes for the big honors, not the small ones.
Do you know what's really interesting about that kind of comment? Whenever it's made, you got to phrase it right, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said something like this once around sometimes trophies are just for your ego. And of course, what he actually meant, if you listen to the overarching conversation and think when he was questioned about it later, what he said is sometimes you can win an FA Cup, but you're not a very good team. For instance, Wigan are a prime example. Great, they won the FA Cup, but they got relegated. What he's saying is, if you actually delve into the point is, we want to win, but we also want to be a really good football team as well. So winning the FA Cup but finishing 8th, it's good you won the FA Cup. But in a singular season, being 8th in the league is still not a good thing, because that is the ultimate barometer for how good you are. And I totally agree with that. And you would take it. You would take 8th in an FA Cup.
100%. The whole point of sport is to win trophies. I would take FA Cup in 8th any day of the week.
Let me ask you a question, Dan. When you win the FA Cup, you are the best of what?
Of the teams that played in the FA Cup.
Are you, though? If those teams all finish ahead of you in the league over 38 games, are you better than those teams?
Well, in that cup, yes.
Okay, yeah, but
either you had a better run. That's how cups work. That's how cups work.
Games, right? But that's what I'm saying. Cups are great. They're great to have a parade and haul around. But a team that shows success, nobody's going to say that Tottenham Hotspur is a better team than Manchester City because we won the FA Cup and they didn't. Nobody's going to say that.
Well, the biggest criticism that we've had as a football club for the last 20 years is the fact that we don't win trophies.
It's just banter from people that don't think with
it's not banter.
Brain.
Well, it's banter. Reasonable. Well, it's reasonable.
It's not reasonable.
Because the whole point of football is to win cups.
I'm sorry. If
we
you
have won
if you
in the
finished
last 20
5th,
years.
6th, 5th, 8th, 8th, 5th, 2nd over the last 10 years, in the last 7 years, right? Those are your table positions. And you won 1 or 2 trophies, domestic cups on that side. You can't say you're a better team than a team that won 1 or none. That finished above you consistently for those 7 years.
You can't say that you're better, but you can say that you've been more successful.
Why? Why?
Because the whole point of sport is to win, so therefore you were successful.
Yeah, but you're not the best at anything when you win a domestic cup.
When
you win the Champions League, you're the best team in Europe. When you win the Premier League, you're the best team in England. Right? You're not the best team of anything when you win the FA Cup. It's unfortunate. I know a lot of people have an emotional attachment to that cup. That's just the reality of it.
Do you know what? Listening to this is the problem with these conversations. I don't think you're overly wrong, Dan. I also don't think Will's wrong. I think there is opinions there from both sides that are important. Of course, Wigan winning the FA Cup and getting relegated for a club their size, their fans love winning the FA Cup. But ideally, I guarantee you they were still angry when they got relegated. You can be happy you've won the FA Cup, but annoyed and criticize your team and club for coming 8th.
Exactly.
Those two things can coexist at exactly the same time. So you can celebrate winning a trophy, but be angry at your league position. The same as you can be buzzing about your league position, but fuming at how you performed in domestic cup competitions. Because what you ideally want when you have the income and money that your club does, my club does, Chelsea's does, is you want to be successful in your domestic league. You want to be successful in your domestic trophies, and you want to be successful in Europe. But for sustained success, the history of football shows us the teams that finish high up in the league are the teams that consistently have success in domestic trophies and in European conversations. So you have to, whatever you're winning, and winning is great, don't stop winning. You have to aim to make your domestic standing higher and more consistent. Because typically, if you look at all the winners of the Copa del Rey, if you look at the winners of the FA Cup, the League Cups, if you look at the majority of the winners and look at their league positions in and around that time, it's the teams at the top of the league that mainly win all the other trophies as well. So I don't think you're wrong, Dan. I don't think you're wrong at all for being happy with winning the FA Cup. But you could still sit at the end of the season and say, buzzing about the FA Cup, that was amazing, but really unhappy with where we finished in the league. It's called critical thinking. The problem is nowadays, everything's either I'm happy or I'm completely angry, and no sort of nuance in the middle.
Yeah. So the last time we won a trophy, we finished, I think, 12th that year under Juan de Ramos. Basically, it was a cup win because we focused on that, and we didn't go anywhere with it because it was a manager that was playing bad football, to be fair, or didn't get much from the players, and it was a team that really wasn't in his image. You should be seeing now a team in Ange's image grow over the next 2 or 3 seasons. And then obviously, so there's a plan in place. The FA Cup, look, I understand what Will's saying is that he holds the Champions League and the Premier League as the marker. That's where it's moving. So I understand what he's saying. But the FA Cup is probably one of the biggest domestic cup competitions in world football. So there's a lot of heritage, a lot of prestige in regards to winning it. Spurs have a really good history in winning it. 9 finals and 8 wins. Only non-league team to win the non-league and the FA Cup at the same time. No one's ever done it before or after. So we've got a lot of history in that. What I'm saying is, for me, it means a lot. Obviously, if you hold people going because you don't rate the FA Cup. Oh, you don't know nothing. It's what you deem worthy. I just think the FA Cup means a lot as well, but obviously you see things differently. But people seem to get a bit weird with.
No, I mean, like take boxing for example, right? If you win a gold medal, that's great. It doesn't mean you're the best boxer in the world, right? You're not the best boxer in the world until you're the heavyweight champion of the world, and you're not really the heavyweight champion of the world until you hold the belts from all of the boxing confederations, right? That makes you the heavyweight champion. You are now the best, right? Winning a gold medal in the Olympics in boxing doesn't make you the best. It's an honor, right? It's great to have. You're excited. You want to win it, right? I want to win the FA Cup, but winning the FA Cup doesn't make Tottenham Hotspur the best team in England. I want Tottenham Hotspur to be the best team in England. That's the expectation that I have for the club. Will we ever get there? Who knows?
Boxing
That's
is
the expectation that I have, though.
Boxing is a strange comparison because of boxing. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't know too much about boxing, but if you have a championship and somebody beats you, you lose your championship. So let's say Man City have been champions of England for how many years? We beat them every season. So every year that we beat them, we become champions of England. It's not.
If you beat them for the championship trophy.
When the first game England played after the 1966 World Cup was against Scotland, and they beat us, and they were singing that they're world champions. That actually, as a joke.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't work like that. But Terry, can I say my last point on how the FA Cup is?
Of course you can, mate. Of course you can, brother.
Alan, you bring up when we won the Carabao Cup a couple years ago, right? 15 years ago, before I was born. Do you remember that season because it holds value? Because we won the Carabao Cup. Maybe the season before we placed a little bit higher in the league. Do you remember where we placed? Do you remember what we did that year? No, because we didn't win anything.
When we placed where? Sorry.
When that year that we won the Carabao Cup, that we placed
12th.
Where was it? Where?
We placed 12th.
12th. That year you remember it because we won a trophy.
Okay.
I can't tell you where we finished like 7 years ago when we didn't win a trophy. I can't tell you if I remember, but I can tell you where we finished 15 years ago because that was a year that holds value in my heart and in our brain. And that's the whole point of football, to win trophies. And that's a year that we actually did it.
Yeah. The thing is, though, Dan, that's not I hear your point again, but that isn't what's being said. What is being said is I'll celebrate. This is what I'm hearing from both Will and Alan. I will celebrate winning an FA Cup, but it's not going to quench my thirst. I am still going to put pressure on the team to become better in the league. So you are right. If you win the FA Cup this year, you'll remember this season forever. But that doesn't mean you ignore all the flaws in your squad and in your team still, because that would probably stop you from progressing. And by the way, we saw that happen to your biggest rivals, Arsenal, in the latter years of Wenger. He won back-to-back FA Cups. And as much as that was good for the club trophy-wise, a lot of Gooners felt that it essentially kept a manager there that was still taking them backwards in terms of challenging for league titles and everything else. So it doesn't mean winning the FA Cup was bad per se for Arsenal. You always want to win. But at the same time, you need to be competing for your... And that's where you guys want to get back to. And I think the commentators said it tonight. I think Clive Tilsley said it. He basically said, I don't know what commentators other people were listening to, but he goes, I remember when Spurs were a brilliant cup team, and they were like the cup team for a long time in England in the 80s and the 90s. But then he said, I'm also old enough to remember when they were a team that challenged for titles. But you're talking about the 1960s when that was going on. And it's, that's what Spurs have got to aim to get back to 100%. Got some super chats here. The first one says, it's about trophies. If you don't understand that, then you're a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not, right? It's about being the best, right? And if you're satisfied, for example, if you think success for you is winning a League Cup, then you don't know what success is, because success is winning the league, the Champions League. That's actual success in this sport. That's the pinnacle, right? You could be a Leicester side that wins the FA Cup and then gets relegated the next season, or a Wigan, right? You can be all of these different clubs. Success is what Manchester City's been doing over the last 6 years. That's success.
And you know how we know this is true? Man United won the League Cups last year and got bantered. Liverpool won the League Cup and the FA Cup the year before and got laughed at for not winning the league and the Champions League.
Exactly.
No one said what amazing seasons you had, because it doesn't mean you didn't have good elements of your season.
They got laughed at. They got laughed at because they were saying the whole year that they were going to win the quadruple.
Yeah, and they didn't. But even though they won 2 trophies still, Liverpool still looked at that as a disappointing season. That's the level of that club. Jean-Pierre here says, correct, Terry, we need a trophy and minimum 6th place. As Abby said on DR Sports, she wasn't being delusional. I hear you there. Winning the Champions League doesn't make you the best team in Europe. Chelsea won the Champions League and finished 5th in the Prem. Were they the best team in Europe without being the best in England?
Yeah, that year they were the best team in Europe in that competition. Absolutely. The difference between the Champions League and the FA and the EFL Cup is, one, Premier League teams don't have to qualify for it. You just hop in, right, at the later stages. You don't even have to start at the beginning, right? You got basically six fixtures sets until you reach a final. If you reach a final, the Champions League, you have to qualify for it. You have to go through a group stage. Then you have to go through a knockout stage. You have to take that path all the way to the end. And you're playing against the best teams in Europe. Yes, it's a knockout competition. So a team who maybe finishes 4th or 5th can end up being the best team in Europe that year. But that's a tournament. That's the way a tournament works.
Yeah.
Right?
Can I just quickly, in regards to the FA Cup this year, I want to win trophies, but it can't just be a one-off trophy and we go back to what we've seen from Spurs. It has to be an FA Cup that launches us onto another FA Cup or challenging for the league next season with winning maybe a League Cup and then the cup down the line. It has to be sustained, like winning trophies. It can't just be one FA Cup at the blue and stuff like that. So that's just what I'm saying. But people in the comments saying, can we not be happy with this win? Of course you can. I celebrated the goal. I celebrated the win because we get through to the next round of the cup, because I want us to take this cup seriously, but we didn't with the Carabao Cup. But I'm not going to, it's not like that meme. You know that meme where there's somebody standing in front of a building going, nothing to see here. I'm not going to watch a 1-0 win and go, oh, we won 1-0. There's no problems. I want growth as a club, but when we see we can win 1-0, but also see the problems that are with this club, you then want to rectify them. If we go, oh, we won 1-0, there's no problems. That's how you have Davies here for 12 years. Hugo Lloris, that should have been moved on 3 years, still here. That's how you still got Højbjerg here. Sessegnon, who's injured, who's always here. This is how you get into a mess that you are. Because if we win or we do well for a short period of time, it's like, yeah, we're Spurs, we're doing well. Oh, this manager's cooking, or this one's doing that, or that one's doing that. And then we get 6 months, a year down the line, and it's all like, oh, where did it all go wrong? Oh, let's start again. And we win nothing in the meantime. We've got to build. You've got to get it correct, but you can also criticize as well as celebrate victories and get through to the cup. You can also say, these players aren't good enough for this reason. The manager's done this, which is great, fantastic. But you can't just go when things go right. You can't just go, yeah, everything's good here, because it's not. You can hold both views at the same time.
And that's why I just don't understand like why today in modern football, when people like Alan or myself or even people like, Ligon or whatever, they have high expectations for their football club and they're somehow negative when my expectation is higher than yours. The people moaning in the chat, my expectation is higher than yours, right? That means that I want Tottenham to do better than you do, and yet somehow I am not a fan, or I don't have ball knowledge. But my expectation's here. Yours is here.
It's crazy because we have this conversation all the time, but often it's comparing a season versus where you want to be.
Right.
So, for instance, if Spurs finish 8th and win the FA Cup, and Man United finish 4th miraculously, there is a strong argument that you've had a better season because you've won a trophy. There's also an argument to say, though, let's just say between now and the end of the season, we click into gear. And by the end of the season, we're playing amazing football, but you kind of go the other way. There's another argument saying, well, I feel like we're in a better position going into the following season because football doesn't end at the end of the season. It's not the end of The Sopranos. So there is multiple ways to look at it in terms of trajectory. So, of course, in terms of trophies, Tottenham season in that hypothetical example would be better. But who'd be the more confident going into the next season, potentially? Man United, you might be happy with your trajectory and direction you're moving in. Back in March 2023, Man United fans were buzzing with the direction that we were going in. We won the League Cup.
I mean, it happened last season. We were that with Conte. We were in 4th all the way until April, and then we finished 8th, right? And
and then bang,
started
it
poor
fell away.
And you finished.
Of course.
Right?
So I think this is the problem when it comes to looking at. Of course, trophies are a barometer of success, especially historically. The most successful teams in England, Liverpool and Man United, we have more trophies than other people. I understand that. But that isn't what the conversation is when you're looking at Spurs right now. The conversation isn't just what trophies have you won, because you're not even in a position to really win the major trophies yet. So your success is trying to win those domestic trophies, but also improve to a point where you can win the big ones. Because if you won the FA Cup or League Cup every year for 20 years, but didn't get anywhere near a league title or a Champions League title, nobody would still say you're the best team. So and that's got to be the aim. So I totally agree. I totally agree. The problem you have nowadays is even the people that say they're Standards FC and it's all about winning trophies, they wouldn't accept just winning domestic trophies. You're right.
I got some terrible news.
Hold on. Take it with the national teams, for example. The United States has won 13 CONCACAF championships. 13. Does that mean we're a bigger footballing nation than England, who's won a World Cup and how many Euros?
You're not.
It doesn't.
Even though I hear you.
Right,
Daniel,
I would love to put that on the British fans as a bit of a banter, right? The United States is a bigger footballing nation than England because we have more trophies than you. But nobody would accept that.
Don't do that, Will. What's the bad news, Dan?
Ange Postecoglou just done his press conference. He says Ben Davies looks like he's done his hamstring. I'm lost for words.
So look,
Van der Ven's supposed to be back next week.
Exactly. Yeah, but now we're gonna have Van der Ven and Emerson Royale, and we could have had Van der Ven and Ben Davies. Like,
why would Ben Davies play right centre back?
How is Van der Ven and Ben Davies going to work when they're both left-footed centre backs? It would have been Van der Ven would have come in, and it would have been Royale to keep the balance. Look, it's bad for an injury, and obviously I wish him all the best, and hopefully he gets better soon. Udogie, I said shouldn't really be playing because there was rumours about his hamstring as well before the game and all that, but he seemed to come through it fine. Obviously, wish Ben Davies the best of luck and all that, but like I say, Van der Ven's come back. And this is why I said you should have got Dragusin in now, because by the time you get him up to scratch or like in regards to things, he could come in and be not like Van der Ven and take a while to adapt. And then you've got a bad defender, like somebody who hasn't adapted with Van der Ven, who's got obviously a potentially weakened hamstring because of the injury, and then you'll lead it. Like, obviously, you're making things and complicating things for yourself. I don't understand why we haven't got a defender in when we quite clearly need defenders. This is why
we're trying to sign Dragusin. That's who we're trying to sign.
We're trying to, but the Todibo deal didn't happen because let me finish. Dan. The Todibo deal didn't happen because it's going to take too long, and we need somebody in now. Okay, so it's earmarked last week before the transfer window opened for Dragusin to come in, and we're going to pay. And now Spurs are haggling over 5 million with Genoa. It's not a £100 million signing; it's 30 million euros, and we're haggling over 5 million. When we sold Harry Kane, we have a net spend of 60 odd million because we got rid of Harry Kane and the money we spent. And literally, we're haggling over. That stadium was meant to be a game changer. That's why I'm frustrated. There's good stuff. I like what Ange's doing. I like the type of football he's playing. I like the way these youngsters are coming through to the team, and we've got a young
I
squad.
think I think you guys need to sign a physio.
And said no to Todibo.
We got. No.
You said no to Todibo. Why? What did you? Why? What's wrong with him?
He has an attitude issue.
We
It
didn't
came
say
out.
no to Todibo. What are you talking about?
There was a tweet from a credible source that said
Tweet.
Postecoglou didn't want Todibo anymore because apparently he has an attitude issue and he would rather drag.
Who tweeted it though? Was it? I'm going to say this with respect because I say it about all clubs. Was it a Spurs specific, Spurs generic journalist?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I know without knowing, because at the end of the day, every club pulls out, like every club, like generic journalists throw things like that in. Like, you guys, listen, the journalists aren't even. Nice are not accepting anybody's bid until Man United bid for him. Why would think about it? That's just what it is. Without being rude, the owner of Nice is now the majority shareholder of Manchester United. He's coming here.
But apparently he does have an attitude issue. I saw something about when he was in Barcelona that the reason he left Barcelona is because he had terrible attitude, and like it's a bit like Jed Spence, as we signed Jed Spence and now he's getting kicked out of Leeds because
Well, he'll be in at Spurs with Jed Spence and Dembele and Lo Celso apparently, so he'll fit in well at Spurs, won't he?
yeah, but that's apparently why Ange said no.
Jed Spence doesn't have a bad attitude.
He got his contract got terminated at Leeds. His loan got terminated at Leeds because he fell out with the manager. And the manager said he has a
that means he's got a
terrible
bad attitude.
He's falling out with he's falling out, but Conte didn't want to play him. Ange Postecoglou sent him out on loan. I forgot who it was. Neil Warnock fell out with him, saying that he had a terrible attitude as well. And Leeds have now terminated his contract, saying that he's falling out with the manager. I think there's a little bit of a pattern.
You believe too much, right? There's
no. Neil Warnock came out and said
you
that
need to be not
doesn't
so
like.
naive. Okay.
Okay.
Even journalists get paid to do things, and a lot of times when you have to read things, you have to read between the lines. They'll say things like or it seems as though, right? These are things where they're just making up things in their word, in their mind, in order to tell a story to sell papers. Because in the end of the day, clicks and views.
So then why have
money.
they let go of Jed Spence? Because he's been balling out for Leeds. He's been playing very well for Leeds.
No, he didn't play well for Leeds.
No, he has been playing very well for Leeds. Leeds fans are very happy
Joe
with him.
Rodon
They would have
played well for Leeds.
How many games has he played for Leeds?
I don't know the exact, but I know a Leicester fan who's told me that he's very happy with Jed Spence. A lot of
he played 7 games out of they've
30 something games.
Yeah, 30 odd games have played in all comps Leeds, and he's played 7 of them. That's why he's back, Dan. Look, and the reason I'm defending Jed Spence is I'm very good friends with. I know both his agents, they're brothers, and I'm very good friends with one of them, and so I've got a little insight into that. There's no issues there with him. You know,
look at Terry flexing. Look at Terry.
By the way, Ange Postecoglou got asked in the presser, with Davies out, can you afford to lose Dyer this month? And he said yes.
You know what's really funny though? He might not play. Isn't it mad? I get you guys want Dyer out, you don't care, but the man's gonna go to Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich. Tuchel.
Bayern Munich.
His buddy Harry Kane pulling strings.
Imagine this. Imagine you're dating someone or you're married to somebody and you want to end it. You don't like them anymore. They don't like you. Go, I want you gone. I'm leaving. And then they end up with Brad Pitt. You'd be like, oh, how'd they get better than me? Do you know what I mean? It's like he's going to go there and win major trophies. It's crazy.
Yeah, Harry Kane pulling strings.
He's going to go there. He's going to sit there, hold bench, and carry water bottles around and clean people's boots. He ain't going to play.
What would you rather do? What would you rather do, Alan? Would you rather hold bench and carry water bottles at Tottenham and win nothing, or do it at Bayern Munich and maybe win a treble?
Oh, will this now put him in a conversation? This is what I don't get about because you're in part of the team. Going by that logic about winning trophies, Darren Fletcher is one of the best midfielders that ever played the Premier League.
That isn't what I meant. That isn't what I didn't say it makes him a better player. I said, where would you rather hold bench and carry water bottles?
I mean, it don't look like they're going to do the treble this season. They're like second in the Bundesliga.
They're going to win something. They're going to win something.
No. Win something. They got that Kane curse on them. They have that Kane curse on them.
You mean the Spurs curse?
No. We're winning something this year because we've got the Kane curse.
You know what would be funny if you guys did win the FA Cup and imagine Bayern win nothing when they normally win at least. That would be hilarious. It really would be. This year says Anton here. Spurs fans need to be more appreciative. They haven't lifted a proper trophy in 16 years. Take the cup.
And you haven't lifted a proper one in 20, my man. So,
well, they won the FA Cup in the.
I don't think that's a proper one. That's the point, Dan.
It was a COVID cup, but okay, man.
No, we won a COVID Cup basically because Will sees the Premier League and Champions League as the real trophies, so that's why he's saying they haven't won a proper one since 2004.
Yeah, 2003 or 4.
I disagree with you, Will. I think the FA Cup is a proper trophy. It's a big trophy. Where I get your point is when Man United won the FA Cup with LVG, I loved it. I was there. I was at the ground. It was amazing. But I still wasn't satisfied with how good my team were. So as big a tournament as it is, when I was winning FA Cups, when we were also winning Premier Leagues and winning Champions Leagues, it did feel better. And maybe that's because I was more happy with where my club is. So I do get you. This one says, I got a medal for not playing Terry standards. Archibald. Firstly, it was a little bit satire, the point I was making. Okay. Secondly, I'm not suggesting it's a mistake for Spurs to let him go. I'm just saying, imagine Spurs. If you're normally in life, if you're not good enough for Tottenham, you don't end up at a bigger, more prestigious football club. It's just kind of funny that it's Bayern Munich that are buying him. It's strange.
All the guys that leave us
Byron could be listening to this. Byron could be listening to this. We're...
Can you imagine? They pick up. Listen, we were just watching a football terrace with.
Listen, Byron, you're taking a gem here. Like this is a star here that you're taking off of us. Please don't take Dyer off of us. And
it's funny. Normally, when players are like. It's a bit like, imagine we sell Scott McTominay and he goes to Real Madrid. That's what it feels like. It would be weird. I wouldn't understand it. It would make no sense.
I don't know.
Terry, where do you see Ange Postecoglou in the next 5 years? Do you think he will be here at Spurs? Yes, he may very well be. If the board back him, if they spend money. By the way, they earn more money than Arsenal. Arsenal spent 700 million in the last 4 years. So I expect Tottenham to spend similarly because you're going to have to win Premier Leagues. You're going to have to win Champions Leagues. As long as they back him, as long as they support him, as long as they get the infrastructure right behind the scenes, he could be here in 5 years winning trophies. I think he's got that about him. He's got an aura about him. His football looks excellent. He just needs a better squad. And that's the club's responsibility to help him build that. So, but if 100%. They don't and they throw him under the bus, then in 2 to 3 years' time, he'll be somewhere else because it'll fall apart. 100, yeah. Matt's here. Matt Saguna. What you here to say, Matt? Or sorry, or should I say Anton? How you doing?
So I've come in here to have a conversation with the person, I think his name is Will, that says that the FA Cup is not a proper trophy. It is the most prestigious domestic English cup competition.
I'm not English.
How is it not a proper cup?
I'm not English, right? So you tell me why is the FA Cup greater? Hold on. Why is the FA Cup greater than the Copa del Rey? Because it's English.
Well, no, but my point is that it's bigger than a Carabao Cup, right?
But why same teams?
I get your point if you were talking about that cup, but you're talking about the FA Cup that has been enriched in England for the last 150 years.
So, right, but that's history, right? So I'm talking about now.
Right, yeah.
Okay? So
exactly.
in the past, history. Right? Hold on. In the 50s and 60s, you had teams that that trophy, even when even your European competitions weren't established, right? The best football that was going in at the time was in England, so you could say that cup had a lot more prestige than it does now. But currently. Right. Tell me, what's the difference between the EFL Cup and the FA Cup besides non-league teams participating in the first couple of rounds? What's the difference?
It's not about the teams that participate.
What's the difference? It does. It is about the teams that participate.
Of the cup itself.
Okay, but things lose stature all the time.
You might not understand because you're not English.
No, I understand the point. I'm saying you're wrong because things lose stature, right?
Do you know? I don't know if it's lost stature. I just don't believe. I do believe it's a cultural thing, and what I mean by that is. And I mean, it's with no disrespect to yourself, Will or young Daniel. When you were kids growing up, did your dad take you out on FA Cup day, sit you down in the morning and watching the build-up, listening to the history? You know, did you do FA Cup days as kids?
I did, and I value the FA Cup.
Okay, you did. That's great that you did. So my dad kind of brought us up on it is the oldest football competition in the world. That is a difference. It started in 1871 or 1872. It was the first competition before any other existed. That prestige does still exist, but I also understand that prestige doesn't translate to every other country around the world that now watches football, because a lot of nations have only really been watching English football for the past 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So, and the FA Cup hasn't been, the Premier League has been the attraction to the English game, as opposed to why the FA Cup is what attracted a lot of people in the late 1800s, the early 1900s to watch English football. So I do understand that different generations and different cultures and nationalities around the world will see it as different. What I will say is this, though, about it, is I think it does deserve more respect from people that want to watch the game. And I say that from the perspective of, I don't really watch a lot of American sports, but if I was started to watch the NFL, and there are traditions and there are sort of elements of the game that are 50, 100 years old, or whatever it may be, that should be respected, I don't think a bunch of Brits that suddenly start watching it should be able to say, that doesn't even matter to me. I think we should embrace what the inventors of the game, or in that country anyway, believe to be prestigious. So I understand why people don't, but I believe there's got to be a conversation about it.
I'm not saying that the cup itself doesn't have a prestige. It does, right? The fact that it's the oldest competition in the world, that means it has a value, right? The fact that it's the biggest domestic cup in England holds a value for people that support English teams, right? I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is when people come at me for saying that the FA Cup isn't as big of a deal as winning the league or the Champions League, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to take that argument because I think it's a farce.
Agree with that. I agree with that.
But my point is, it's the same thing, right? We have in the UF, you have NFC and AFC championships, right? Those are historic things. Those things in the past meant that you were the top. Those were two separate leagues, right? Those were league titles, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, right? But now they're just a game on the way to the Super Bowl. And if you win it, great. But if you don't win the Super Bowl, your season wasn't a success. Nobody's like, yeah, we won the NFC championship, but we lost the Super Bowl. Nobody says that. And it's the same thing for me with the FA Cup and the league. Yes, I want to win the FA Cup. It's a competition that my club's in, and it has a prestige. It is a major honor or trophy, right? It's a similar thing in any competition, golf, boxing. There are big honors and there are smaller honors. And it's the big ones that the champions want to win, right? The little ones are great to add to that because it shows dominance.
I do understand that. But even within boxing, so as much as everybody wants to be world champion and a unified, undisputed world champion of whichever weight category, on their way to doing that, winning the British Championship, winning the Lonsdale belts, winning certain other belts and accolades along the way, still holds a prestige within boxing. And if, for instance, an up-and-coming fighter won the British title and went, don't really care, I just want to get the work, and sort of disregarded it, the boxing community would be highly offended because it's a tradition. And I do feel, and not what you've said, I understand where you're coming from. The reason why the FA Cup has been played down as not as important is because people pretend they don't care. People have been FA Cup and League Cup. People have been pretending that going out early in those competitions. The last 20 years, people have been doing this. Doesn't matter. Small competition. This one's bigger. That one's better.
That was Arsenal's motto last year.
Last year was kind of thing. And what it's done, and the younger generation have just grown up around that. It's weird for me because as a kid, no one did that. If you went back into school on Monday after going out in the third or fourth round of the FA Cup, you got rinsed apart and you were fuming about it. You went to work. Now, suddenly, the last sort of 15, 20 years, it's played down as being okay to go out. And a generation, we have mistreated this generation. They've grown up and all they've learned from their elders and their peer, the elders in the game is it's okay to go out of these tournaments. No, it isn't. We should take them very, very seriously. I understand everything you said today, Will. I agree that you don't just want to win FA Cups and your team be average in the league. You want to be good at both.
Yeah,
and I criticize standards. Yeah,
I criticized Postecoglou for making those 9 rotations in the League Cup. I didn't want him to do that. We should have gone. We should win. If we want to be the best team in England, we have to win every competition we're in. Not just a little one and say, okay, yeah, we can finish 8th in the league. Like that mentality for me seems very weak. Yeah, the kind of ugly girl in the corner with glasses. Yeah, I can take her home, but I don't ever want to talk to the pretty one. Like I just don't get that mentality in life, right? In business and anything.
Oh, no.
Why are you settling for the mid-tier deal when the big one is there and we should be progressing towards that? Right, we'll get both.
We can be progressing
if we're the best team in England, we can win all 4.
Wait, Will, we could win the FA Cup and still be progressing to do well domestically next season. It's not like we're just going to win the FA Cup and next season we're guaranteed to get relegated. It's not like that, Will.
Until you've reached the pinnacle. That's my point.
Yes,
you've accomplished something. Change the battery pack. You've accomplished something.
The timing of that was impeccable. This is not English, so the Prem is worthless too.
That was I think that's in regards to when Will said about obviously, because Will's not English, that the Premier League's worthless too, because he said about
but that's the league. That means you're the best team in the
I
league
get where,
that year.
I understand where Will is coming from. It's about looking at where you actually are overall. At the same time, winning an FA Cup, I still think it warrants a parade.
Yeah,
I think
100% cheer it, praise it. But what I'm saying, all I'm saying is that for me, I will party for months and I will rub it in Arsenal fans' face for years if we win the league before they do. Right? If we win an FA Cup this year, it'll be a fun banter that I can throw out now and then on shows.
Will,
right?
no. If we win the FA Cup, that will be the greatest day of my life. I'm being dead serious here. That you cannot just be throwing it under the bus like it's something small. No, Will. If we make it to the FA Cup final, I will be flying to England, watching that game live, and that will be the greatest day of my life. I will be the first one there on the parade. I will be the first one there next to the bus on the parade, running around, holding a Tottenham flag, putting it right in every Arsenal fan's face, and every other rival saying that we don't win trophies, and I'm going to be singing "Come on, you Spurs" the whole way.
And I'll do that when we win the league, Dan.
Okay, I understand that, but there's also little things to be celebrated as well. A FA Cup and a Carabao Cup, you can't just throw them under the bus as something small. And nobody
we
cares
can
about.
celebrate birthdays.
I get what Will's saying. Look, although I disagree, and I reckon Spurs need to win a trophy as a benchmark and progress. There are Spurs fans, and I still see compilations to this day. Oh, do you remember that day? And they tout and still put compilations of us beating Ajax in the semi-final, forgetting that we went on to the final to lose and not win anything. But they hold that semi-final victory over Ajax, that comeback, as the best day in Spurs history. And I'm like, this is the standards that some people in this fan base have. I agree to a point, but you have to start winning trophies. Pep came in, he won the League Cup first, and he built from there.
Yep.
I think Spurs need to do that.
This is the problem. What is the problem, though? I haven't said I don't want to win it. Right?
No,
I'm not
I
saying
really
it's okay if we go. I'm saying we played poorly today. We should be doing better. We should have dominated this Burnley team. We should have put 4 or 5 past them. Right? That's what I'm expecting from this team. And if we had done that, then we would be closer to being a team that can actually challenge for the league. Right? That's my point. We should be winning every competition that we go into. That's my expectation.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I'm not satisfied. The hunger, the thirst is not quenched if we just win.
I agree with that.
So obviously, literally getting the win is more important, of course. But in terms of what I like about the FA Cup is that young players can sort of introduce themselves to the stage. That's one of the reasons why I quite like it, because I don't know.
But the fact that they're playing young players is just evidence to show that the managers
literally introducing themselves. And
I think that's an important element of it. But look, if your young players are good enough, they're starting games in the Premier League. It's as simple as that. Boys, look, I want to thank you all for coming on tonight and giving us your opinions. To all of our super chatters, to everyone in the comment sections, everyone who's hit the like button, thank you. We're back tomorrow with more content in terms of build up to the big one this weekend of Arsenal versus Liverpool, transfer news, and of course, match reactions to the Chelsea game. They should be beating Preston. I'm sure they will. Until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.